Third down, inches to go to Bader. 17 to 14. Cowboys out in front. Starr begins the count. Takes the snap. He's got the quarterback sneak, and he's in for the touchdown. And the Packers are out in front. And the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions.
Set up for the Packers, and Favre back to throw his first one. Going deep. Has a man open. Andre Rison does the dance in, and Favre got settled down in a hurry.
That is the way to settle down.
Got hit there, 3rd and 1. Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, touchdown, Green Bay.
The title is back in town. The Green Bay Packers are world champions of football.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, welcome to another Victory Wednesday. I am your host, Rhino. Welcome to the Titletown Lounge, ladies and gentlemen. It is the greatest of Victory Wednesdays, but before we get into that, I am your host, Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. This handsome devil to your right is Brandon. You can find him on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. Of course, the page itself you can find on Twitter at Titletown Lounge. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Bears Victory Wednesday. One of the best weeks of the entire season. And what a good game it was. What a great game it was. Before we dive into that, I do want to sincerely apologize about missing the last 2 weeks. Both Brandon and I did deal with some illnesses of sorts. I had a very severe stage 4 sinus infection. Nearly didn't make it. Brandon, of course, I think he had a hangnail.
I was much more of a man than Rhino. Just had
you cut deep.
A simple head cold, non-COVID related.
You cut deep. But we are back, and we are back with a vengeance. We do have the Bears victory, the ownage from Sunday to break down, and what a game it was. It wasn't a flashy game. It wasn't a high-scoring affair from the Packers, but it was a very efficient game. Aaron Rodgers only had 195 yards passing, but he did complete 73% of his passes. He did have a quarterback rating, I believe, somewhere right around 127. He did have the 2 passing touchdowns, and of course, the game-sealing rushing touchdown from the 6-yard line there late in the fourth quarter. The big story on offense from this game was the two-headed monster that is starting to develop with Dillon and Jones. For the 3rd straight game, they went over 150 yards combined between the two of them, both passing and receiving. And Brandon, this tandem in the backfield with Jones and Dillon is really becoming a problem for opposing defenses. What were your thoughts on their performance from Sunday?
This is a good win, man. This we've been waiting for this game. I know I have for quite a while. Yeah, going back to April. With the whole draft fiasco, news breaking with Aaron Rodgers, the Bears draft Justin Fields, and Bears fans laughed at us all offseason.
We're gonna get right into it.
All offseason. I thought AJ Dillon and I actually wrote about them two specifically about what went right on Tuesday because. Through the air and on the ground, both of them averaged over 5 yards per carry. They really carried the ball a whole lot. 24 carries between the two. Aaron Jones led the way with 76 yards. But AJ Dillon's his runs were much more impressive for me. We're used to seeing Aaron Jones. We know what he is. He's going to provide that dynamic playmaking ability out of the backfield, in which he does. It feels like every game, a couple times a game. But A.J. Dillon showed us a little bit of something that we haven't seen from him on that 36-yard run. If you remember, that was the one where he had a nice cutback in the backfield, and then he shook. I don't want to say Eddie Jackson, but it was one of the secondary defenders for Chicago out of his cleats.
He did have a little razzle-dazzle on that play.
Yeah. So it's huge. How this offense under Matt LaFleur, under Nathaniel Hackett, ran through Aaron Rodgers. It's successful when the ground game is successful. Combined, they had 154 yards, albeit Rodgers had 19-yard carry. But so for the most part, they controlled the game. You control the line of scrimmage. Most times you're going to win. When you get those two going, and we haven't even seen Kylan Hill, who I think is going to be good in his own right. When you get those guys going, look out, because it opens up everything in the passing game. We haven't even seen Robert Tonyan Jr. really get going this year. He's an important piece to the run game, not only because of his blocking abilities. He's been lacking this year as far as blocking, but a lot of those play action plays that we saw last year going to Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams, it broke open the passing game for Robert Tonyan Jr. So once he gets going and everything kind of clicks into one gear, and they get these guys back healthy. MVS is still obviously dealing with the hamstring issue. They haven't even been at full strength, and they're 5-1.
You know, the thing that really impressed me about this game, Matt LaFleur had what I would say is a poor coaching performance against Cincinnati. What didn't work, he seemed to stick with for quite a while during that game. Into the third quarter, he just really kept trying to employ what wasn't working for them. What I really liked about Matt LaFleur's approach in this game was, you know, Rodgers started off a little sluggish. He was completing his passes, but there really just wasn't anything open downfield for him. There was a lot of checkdowns out of Rodgers right away. There was a lot of scrambling outside of the pocket. He was getting sacked. Matt LaFleur's decision to really, you know, lean on that running game to help open up the pass later in the game is what I was quite impressed with. It's one of the few moments where he looked adversity in the face and made the right adjustment. That's something he has struggled with in past times. So he made the right adjustment. He leaned on Jones. He leaned on Dillon. He allowed them to make plays, open up the passing game. And we saw that passing game open up in the most clutch of moments in the fourth quarter with that 41-yarder to Devontae Adams down the sideline. So I really liked what he did with the offensive setup after we saw that the deep pass and the middle of the field just wasn't there for him. Give the ball to Jones. Give the ball to Dillon. Like we've said it 100 times, the offense goes through Aaron Jones. And 3 straight games with both Jones and Dillon combining for over 150 yards of offense, and they're 3 great wins. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and now the Bears. The defensive side of the ball, I thought they played great. They did have that one blemish to open the game, but I thought Joe Barry made some great adjustments. I know Justin Fields isn't anything you really have to, you know, be afraid of or prepare for. He's the 32nd ranked quarterback, according to your statistic you dropped in the lobby of the show. But 14 points is 14 points, and I thought the defense played pretty well.
Yeah, when you look at the defense, and I don't really disagree with you on any of that. When you look at the Packers defense, there was one common denominator for what was on the field for that Bears first touchdown and who they targeted. Yadam, the cornerback that they acquired with the Josh Jackson swap with the Giants. He was on the field, and Justin Fields was absolutely 100% targeting. I don't even remember his first name. Yadam is his last name. But on that drive, he gave up 4 catches for, I think it was like 42 yards, something like that. Yeah. So as soon as Joe Barry, Matt LaFleur, whoever made the call, and they brought in Rasul Douglas, the game changed. The game completely changed. You couldn't go, target Yadam anymore. That forced the Bears to run the ball, which again is mind blowing because Khalil Herbert was absolutely dominating the Packers on the ground. I mean, 19 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. Questionable play calling in Chicago, questionable everything in Chicago, but it was just one of those weird days on the defense where, again, and I mentioned it in the pre-show, historically in the red zone, there has not been a worse team in football over the last 40 years. They have given up 15 touchdowns on 15 possessions inside the 20. I don't know what happened there. But it's something that it's got to get addressed. Like, it's got to get fixed. At some point, they are going to have to, yes, okay. The thing is, we don't allow them down in the red zone a whole lot. 15 times in 6 games isn't bad, but you're still allowing them to score in the red zone at 100% rate. It's got to be addressed. It's got to be fixed. I've been giving them the benefit of the doubt because they've just been dealing with so many freaking injuries. Like, I don't think people realize how banged up this team truly is. Like, just all over the field. You know, lost Savage in the first play in the second half against the Chicago Bears. You don't have your all-pro cornerback. You don't have your all-pro edge rusher. Preston Smith goes out 8 snaps in that game. You're running out second-year undrafted Jonathan Garvin against the Bears and Justin Fields.
Well, Josh Myers went down the second snap.
It's just it's remarkable. You know, guys have stepped in. The secondary is completely depleted. And I said, if Justin Fields doesn't have a career day against that secondary, not taking anything away from them, but they're not household names. They're not guys that go to Pro Bowls. They're bodies. You know, Rashod Douglas, Yadam, Eric Stokes is showing some promise. Kevin King.
Here's a quick question. Quick question in the midst of this you're going on here. Is this a product of what we're seeing Joe Barry be capable of?
It's possible. It's very, very possible.
I mean, he is throwing what he's out there.
We're seeing it's not a out of the realm of possibilities. According to Pro Football Focus, whatever stock or the lack of that you put in there, if you want to talk about Devondre Campbell and about Joe Barry, he's the number 1 rated inside linebacker in all of the NFL. The number 1. This guy was on the streets in June, looking for places to go play, and he's the number 1 rated linebacker in all of football. Is that Joe Barry? Could be.
I would probably say that's 100% Joe Barry.
It could be. Well, you know, Devondre Campbell's never had that defense. You know, he didn't have it in Atlanta. And then if you transition over to Arizona, he never really had that opportunity to run a defense, be the guy in charge. And we're seeing him do it this year. Joe Barry has a history of linebackers. If you remember, go back to Washington, now that we're playing Washington, Preston Smith had his best year under Joe Barry as an outside linebacker in Washington. Yeah. So, yeah, it's honestly something that it could be a very well attributed to Joe Barry, because they're just, I don't care who you are. You know, same thing with the Lions. You know, they shut the Lions out in the second half. That's hard to do no matter what. No matter who you are in the NFL, it's hard to shut out a team in a whole half of football. And then you go to the San Francisco 49er game. They probably should have shut them out in the first half as well, as we all know what happened in that right before halftime. So the defense is trending up, but they just please fix the red zone.
I actually want to address this comment here by John Doran. John, thank you very much for tuning into the Titletown Lounge. Rashod Gary had arguably his best game of his career so far against the Chicago Bears. He had three pressures in 33 pass attempts. He also had, I believe it was 3 or 4 run stops as well. But he was everywhere. Rashod Gary was everywhere. He was active. It almost felt like every time the play came to a halt, you saw Rashod Gary standing somewhere by the ball carrier. I thought he was extremely disruptive. I thought I don't know what else there is to say. I think he had his best game. And he continues to get better and better week in and week out. He's really showing that, I mean, I hate to say this, but he's really showing that the Packers may not be missing Zadarius Smith as much as we thought we would. I mean, he's really holding his own back there, and he's keeping that defensive front afloat in what really could have been a catastrophic loss when we lost Z after week 1. But yeah, I mean, John's 100% right. Rashod Gary is he's not getting the numbers, but his presence is definitely felt in the backfield.
The only thing with Gary that I have an issue with, and if you watch him, and I'm nitpicking here, but when you watch Rashod Gary, he gets upfield too much, which is not an awful thing. But these quarterbacks, they drop back and they feel pressure. They're standing up in the pocket. They're moving up. He's just got to develop a secondary move, because there's not many tackles that are going to be able to stride for stride with Rashod Gary. He's got to get that inside move. His outside move is phenomenal, but that outside move, it brings his momentum all the way around the pocket. He's got to come back to the quarterback, and as soon as he develops that, and he will, that's the thing about Rashod Gary. When the Packers drafted him, that was the same year that they had Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith with those free agent deals. They knew that the guy was going to take some time to develop, and that's just the Packer way. It's the same thing with Jordan Love. It's the same thing with Eric Stokes. Like, these guys are coming in, and they're not expected to produce right away, although Eric Stokes has been pretty damn good.
Yeah, Eric Stokes, he's had his moments, but I believe the moments he's having, they're no different than what Jair had his rookie year.
He reminds me a lot
flashing.
of Jair.
He does. I mean, there's been a couple bonehead, like, what are you doing kind of plays.
Yeah.
But then there's plays where it's like, holy shit, I can't believe he just made that play. I think Eric Stokes' ceiling is sky high, to say the least, going forward. And I hope that's not indicative of what they plan on doing with Jair come contract extension time. Because those are two guys that you would love to have opposite side of the field in the backfield for years to come. You could be talking about a potential shutdown secondary. Another comment by John, it'd be nice to get MBS back. 100%. I believe he is eligible to come off for is it the Arizona game?
Yeah.
He could come off the short-term IR for?
Yeah.
Now, that's a little tricky because the Arizona game's a Thursday night game, so he would only have a couple days to practice and really test out that hamstring. So that'll be yet to be determined. One thing I want to address, and I think we're going to spend probably the next maybe 9 or 10 minutes addressing quite a few of these, is Twitter, the dark web, and that other fan base that we've been dealing with the offseason. The first comments that I would like to address, and Skip Bayless really started this whole thing right after the game with his tweet about how Aaron Rodgers got outplayed by Justin Fields, which isn't even remotely close to being true. He only threw for 200 yards. Well, he didn't have to throw for more than 200 yards.
Yeah, it's
a
divisional game. Yeah, you don't need to.
I saw quite a few comments. Oh, we shut Rodgers down. Rodgers had an extremely efficient game. I mean, he completed over 70% of his passes. He had a quarterback rating over 120. I think his QBR was something close to 80. He didn't need to throw for 350 yards. He didn't need to throw 40 times. They controlled the time of possession. They allowed the running game to do what it was meant to do, and they controlled the ball. I mean, what was Rodgers supposed to do for you to have a different opinion? They won the game by 10 points. This is the shit that I can't stand with these people. Oh, we shut Rodgers down. Did you, though? Because he accounted for all 3 touchdowns, whether it was with his arm or his legs. He won the game with his 6-yard scramble late in the fourth quarter, the I own you scramble, and he's 100% right. He does own them. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, Justin Fields, where is he? Where is this man at? Where is the second coming of Jesus Christ we were promised all offseason, all training camp, all preseason? Where is the second coming of Michael Jordan in football form? Because I haven't seen him. Have you?
People have quoted he's the next Michael Jordan. So
I know.
That's what's funny about it.
It's
the same fan base that laughs. You know, it is what it is. This is the fan base that last year and going into this year that laughed at Jordan Love. Literally laughed at Jordan Love when he played in preseason, and he played pretty good. They laughed at the 3 throws that he threw off target. And then you go into this season and they're crying for Jordan Love or for Justin Fields to start, and it's probably rightfully so. And then he starts, and then you get told, "Oh, he just needs time." Well, you can't have it one way and not have it the other way. It's the same thing for Jordan Love.
Which one is it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to play both sides of the coin here. But this is poetic justice, man. This is the definition of poetic justice. You had a fan base since April all the way till almost August that literally was making fun of Packer fans, of the Packers. You only won 1 Super Bowl. Okay. I got that all week about the Super Bowl. Only winning 1. They haven't been to one in almost 20 years, and they haven't won one in almost 40 years. But
26 years. No, it's 36 years.
Well, they were there in 06. They didn't win.
No, I meant the last time they won one. Yeah.
So, it's just you got what you got. It's karma. You got what you had coming for you. I mean, you laughed at us all off season.
Yeah.
And, if if Justin Fields ever pans out to be this superstar darling that everybody's already crowned him to be, there's going to be games where in the playoffs you lose that you should probably have won because of another X factor. It's not always Aaron Rodgers that loses games. I mean, it's not always Aaron Rodgers that loses the NFC Championship games. I saw that. Aaron Rodgers doesn't own NFC Championship games.
Oh, that was my favorite one. That was my favorite one.
Kyle Brandt, shout out to Kyle Brandt. You should be embarrassed to even say those words. Like I really, because the one NFC championship game he won, he beat you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look stupid. It's not a rivalry. Aaron Rodgers is 22-5 with 128 passer rating against the Chicago Bears. Yeah, he didn't have eye-popping stats Sunday. He didn't need to. He was 17 of 23. That is the definition of efficient. He did not need to throw for 450 yards. He had 154 yards on the ground. He had a receiving touchdown out of the backfield. He had a running touchdown. Jalen Johnson had a 28 grade per PFF when guarding Devontae Adams. He didn't shut Devontae Adams down either. The Packers just didn't target him as much because he was being double coverage. It happens from time to time. It happened in Pittsburgh or in Green Bay when they played Pittsburgh. He only got 6 catches. So
Rodgers should have had another passing touchdown.
Well, Devontae probably will tell you he probably should have caught, or he probably should have ran that one in that Rodgers threw to him. His foot just slipped out of bounds.
No, I'm talking about Rodgers should have had another, the one to Equinemius St. Brown, the phantom OPI call.
Yeah,
and that's another thing that I want to address too.
Go for it.
Let's not act like this game was decided by the officiating. I'm so sick of this shit. Oh, name a better duo, and it's a picture of the Packers and the referees. Give me a goddamn break with this. I'm so sick of hearing it. It's the popular thing to say online. Someone posted a meme of it like 8 years ago, and that's all anyone has ever posted since then. I'll address this right now. That interception in the first quarter, should there have been offsides? Probably.
Actually,
that may have been
nope. There is another angle. It should have been full start. Jason Peters moved both of his arms. So that's what got Kenny Clark to move. It should have been full start, not offsides. Nonetheless, it didn't really matter.
So I'm gonna extend an olive branch. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm just gonna make the point. Even if that was offsides, even if it should have been offsides, that interception came in the first quarter. I saw people talking about, oh, that killed all the momentum. All the momentum? Are you kidding me? All the momentum? You guys got the ball back to start the second half. You managed 14 points for the game. You scored on your first possession. You scored on the second to last possession you had the ball in the game. Where was your offense for the other 40 minutes of the game? And you want to talk about it killed the momentum. The refs cost us the game. Give me a goddamn break. You know what that is? Those are bullshit excuses because your team lost once again to the Green Bay Packers. Just own it. Just be like, yeah, they destroy us. They kill us all the time. There are people on Twitter that weren't even around the last time the Bears were dominating the Packers. I don't even remember that.
I don't either.
Just own it. We dealt with it the entire decades of the 70s and 80s. All the Packer fans can tell you straight up, yeah, the Bears destroyed us all the time. Every single game, they destroyed us. Stop making excuses, man. You look dumb when you do that. You look dumb. And it's just tiring.
And it's coming from a fan base that had, like, if you ask a Bears fan, draw up a dream offseason, like dream scenario, how an offseason would look, they would draw this one up, prior to obviously Aaron Rodgers reporting to camp. Like, this is what they've always wanted. They've always wanted the boogeyman out of Green Bay, and they've always wanted their guy, their quarterback that they've lacked to have. Even though they've gone through 30 of them, they've wanted that one guy. They finally got that guy. At least that's what they are hoping for out in Chicago. And he underperformed severely, and he has literally all year so far. And the notion of give him time, he's only a rookie, it only goes so far, because that same fan base is trashing Zach Wilson, trashing Trevor Lawrence, who are both on really bad teams. Chicago's not, on paper, they're just not bad. I mean, they got talent. They do. Like, you got good receivers. You got a solid tight end. Offensive line is questionable, but your defense is really good. You lead the NFL in sacks. Like, you got good players around Justin Fields. It's not like he's playing quarterback in Jacksonville, where there's literally nobody. He's got a good team. It's the coaching staff, arguably the coaching staff, but we don't know what this player in Justin Fields is going to be. But this is all coming from the offseason in which they brought on themselves. I mean, they did all of this. If the Packers would have won Sunday, I may have rubbed it in for like an hour or two, and then it was whatever. But they dragged us in the mud, under the rug, whatever term you want to use, all off season.
Yeah.
And there was memes, there was videos, there was picture. I mean, just you name it. And then Aaron Rodgers shows up and they're like, it's okay, whatever. And then he goes into Chicago and literally tells them to their face he owns them.
Speaking of which, are you okay with that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Too. I absolutely love it because there's two things. And Rodgers said it on the Pat McAfee show. The one thing he does, he's 22-5.
Yeah.
And 2 of those games he didn't finish.
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt. So, I mean, whatever could have happened, we don't know. 22-5, won an NFC Championship game in Chicago. And then, last 2 years ago, down 20-3, he has a broken kneecap and he comes in and I mean, he does. He literally does own him. And number 2, if you talk shit at a game, which Bear fans do, or every fan does, if you talk it and you can't get it back, then you probably shouldn't be there. And I'm paraphrasing him at his appearance on the Pat McAfee show, and that's just the reality of it. Is you saw the video that Kyle Malzahn, is that his name? He's a Green Bay news reporter. There was like 7 people flipping the bird.
Oh, I saw the pictures of it. Yeah.
So I mean, I have no issues with it. When we first heard Rodgers' press conference when he came back to Green Bay, and he literally was 100% honest about all his feelings and what he was going through. That was just an honest part about him coming out. He opens up on the Pat McAfee show, and Sunday he had a big touchdown. That's a big time score against a division rival to put you 2 games up in the division, only 6 games into the season. That was a big win. And that was a big moment
with the tiebreaker right now.
And that was a big moment. And they mocked the belt. Don't ever mock the belt. You see what happens when you mock the belt. You saw it. He put the belt on after he ran that touchdown. That was for a reason. When people mock the belt and he scores, look out.
That may have been the biggest belt he's ever put on. It was like out here.
Yeah,
like almost his whole arm span of putting on the belt. No, I absolutely love the comments that he made to the crowd, some of which we can't even repeat on the show because this is somewhat of a family-friendly show. But I mean, he's 100% right. When you're 21, 22-5 against a team, you do own them, especially in the clutch moments that he has had against that franchise. And B, you're right there in the crowd giving a Hall of Fame quarterback the bird. You're flipping the guy off. What do you expect him to do? Just turn around and walk away?
Yeah.
And I absolutely love the passion that he has been showing after all of the comments everybody made week 1. Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't care. No, he does care. Look at him. Look at his reaction with the game-winning field goal against San Francisco, the game-winning field goal against Cincinnati, the touchdown run that he had against the Bears. Honestly, this is probably more emotion we've seen out of Rodgers this year than out of the past 6 or 7 years. I mean, the guy is all over the sidelines when he's not on the field, cheering, giving advice, hugging everybody. So he definitely cares, and you saw it Sunday. We're going to get into our last segment of this particular half of the show, the Studs and Duds segment. Quick shout out to Jacob Wiestendorf. He's a huge fan of the show. I don't know what he does for a living, but a huge fan of the show. Thanks for following us, Jacob. Studs and Duds segment. My favorite segment of the show. I'm going to start my stud, Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark, who came up clutch for the Packers on that last drive for the Bears in the fourth quarter. 2 sacks in 3 plays. Costed Chicago 23 yards. Ultimately ended their day. Definitely my stud for that game.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with kind of a fan favorite one, a generic decision, but the guy that literally told a city of over 1 million people that he owns them. I'm going to go with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who continues to own the Chicago Bears, own the state of Illinois. He is, I don't know if you saw the video, him walking out of Soldier Field, and it is just not pretty. They hate him there. I love it. I absolutely love that for a guy that runs hit my own mouth. I love when another guy that I root for runs his back. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Look, Packers scored 3 touchdowns in that game. He accounted for all 3 of them. Obviously, he put the dagger in that game with 4 minutes left when he ran that touchdown in. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
That's the first time you picked Aaron Rodgers as your stud this year.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, so I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. My dud of the game is the guy we don't even know who his name is. The cornerback that came over in the Yadam. Cornerback that came over in the trade from the New York Giants preseason. That guy just wasn't it on Sunday. He was getting picked apart and had an early exit. Luckily, because the game did shift. You're 100% right early in the show when you said the game shifted once they replaced him at cornerback. So yeah, he's going to be my dud for the game for sure.
I'm going to go with another one that I've never picked before. One that I was big on pre-draft, or I'm sorry, post-draft. Royce Newman. He didn't have it on Sunday. When it came to running the ball, he didn't move. He didn't move really well, and he gave up 2 sacks. I don't know if you remember the game. He completely went the wrong way. Akeem Hicks literally walked in to the backfield, was untouched. That clearly was on Newman, and then Khalil Mack early in the game. He didn't pick up Khalil Mack at all. Another free runner. Towards
Newman
Aaron
just
Rodgers.
did not. He didn't look comfortable the whole game.
Didn't have a good game. Wasn't his best game. Hopefully, he turns on the film, corrects those certain little mistakes that he may be doing, and going forward, he's much better. But first bad game for him that I can remember, in the early part of the season, but just one of those games where he just it stuck out in a bad way.
And the bad part about that is he's actually done a very good job filling in as a temporary starter. So
he'll be a permanent starter.
Well, he'll be a permanent starter too. Yeah. But I was watching him early on, and he had given up the first sack, and you could tell he did not look. He looked out of place. He almost looked like he was playing a new position, and it was kind of like that the whole game for him. So hopefully he cleans that up. We do get Elshin Jenkins back against the Washington football team, so that'll be huge.
Well, he was back against the Bears.
What's that?
Jenkins was back against Chicago as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean get him back. I meant he's 100%. He's off. He's off the injury report. He's 100% healthy, is what I meant. I'm sorry, my bad on that.
Hopefully, Bakhtiari is who we're going to be getting back.
Not for I wish it was for the Washington.
No, I'm saying for Arizona.
Yeah. That'll do it for the Bears Packers portion of this show. We're going to move on to the Washington football team in what I think is going to be a bloodbath. I don't think this game is going to be close at all. I'm looking for a huge blowout this game. Washington's defense is just not what a lot of people expected it to be going into this year, especially with how dominant that defensive line was last year. I mean, that defensive line was probably the scariest line in all of football. I even remember saying, like, I really hope that they don't win their first game in the playoffs because I did not want to play them last year. I thought that was going to be an upset if they had to come to Green Bay. They're not what they were last year. They have absolutely no secondary. They're dead last in the league in passing yards allowed. They're dead last in the league in points allowed. They're giving up 31 points per game. They just allowed 400 passing yards to Patrick Mahomes. Now, they did sack him 3 times. The defensive line is still something that you have to worry about. But the one thing that I'm really looking forward to in this game is letting Rodgers loose. I really think Matt LaFleur just takes the reins off of Rodgers, and I'm looking for about 370, 380 yards passing out of Rodgers.
That'd be nice. It'd be nice to have a game. These last 2 weeks have kind of been a little stressful, and then you add in the San Francisco game. That was stressful. The Steelers game wasn't, but it had moments. But, God, I would love a 42-7 game. Just let it go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm a disagreeance with you. I think it's going to be a much closer game. It always kind of is when we play Washington. You remember in 2019, it was the first year in Matt LaFleur's system. The Packers were the better team, and it was one of those ugly 20-15 games. It was just kind of ugly. And then you go back to the playoff game in 2016, and it was kind of another one of those ugly, I think it was like 23-16 win or something. It just, for whatever reason, Washington, maybe this year's different. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love an absolute, blowout. Chase Young scares me.
Yeah, 100%.
he hasn't been what we were accustomed to a year ago. He's obviously drawn a lot more attention this year. But you're right. Heineke as the quarterback, they do have some burners. JD McKissick, something like that, whatever his last name is. He's not bad. He's fast. But scary Terry.
Did you
McLaurin.
just say a guy that you don't even know who his name is isn't bad?
Yeah, no, I don't know how to pronounce his name. JD McKissick. Is that how you say it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I know who he is. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But he was like 4.3, 4.4 speed. And then Terry McLaurin out on the outside. Now I know he didn't practice today. They're obviously short. They are dealing with some of their own injuries. Brandon Scherf isn't playing. He hasn't played in a while. Logan Thomas, the tight end, thank God that he's probably not going to play in this game because tight ends destroy the Packers defense. But it in real, on paper, this should be a game where the defense should have a few turnovers, hopefully in the red zone, and a game where Aaron Rodgers should let loose. Now, I really do wish this was a game that MVS was playing in. This has like an MVS game kind of written all over it. There is no secondary. He's obviously that streaker. He's going to go deep. And there's really probably nobody in that secondary that can run step for step with MVS. It sucks that he's out, and hopefully he gets back. But yeah, you're probably going to see them bracket Devontae Adams pretty much all game because that's probably the only way they keep this within a score or two.
I really think you're going to see the same approach to this game that you saw against San Francisco, where it's a lot of quick releases for Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get the ball out of his hands in less than 2.25 seconds, just like he did in that game on Sunday night against the Niners. I think the reason why they employ that is because they do have a shit secondary, but they do have a great pass rush. So they're not going to want to spend a lot of time in the backfield holding on to the ball, but you are going to have guys that are open down the field. So you are going to see some 10, 15-yard passes, sometimes even 20 or 25-yard passes. The one thing about the Redskins, they are absolutely atrocious on third down defense. The Packers are one of the most efficient teams on third down. If you're getting into position where it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, you're going to see a lot of passes on 3rd and short, I think, in this game. Because I really do think the Packers come out and put the foot on the gas. I think they're going to get on the board 17 points maybe in the first 3 drives. They're going to want to get out to it. It's going to be a boat race. Well,
you just hope, and I know you're not wrong. Yeah, when you talk about being better, keep in mind there's always that one game. There's like 1 or 2 games in the LaFleur schedule that the Packers just absolutely suck. Like they should win. They haven't had one at home. I don't think that's going to happen. Just keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, you hope this isn't a trap game because Thursday is right around the corner. And obviously it's a big time matchup against the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. So is there going to be a little bit of, let's look ahead to Arizona? We got, it's Washington, whatever. I hope not. I hope that under Aaron Rodgers, who's been more of a vocal leader so far this year, I hope that obviously doesn't translate to a letdown against the Washington football team.
So my response to that, we had both of those games week 1. And honestly, looking back, now that the Packers are 5-1, now that they're on their 5-game win streak, they look like they're about to hit full stride. As odd as this may be to hear, I think week 1 was the best possible thing that could have happened to this football team. Yeah. Now that's obviously in complete hindsight. Obviously, you don't want to ever see your team get blown out 38-3. But with the offseason that this team had, all of the distractions that it had, the drama, the negativity, coming out and getting blown out the way they did is the best possible thing that could have happened to them. And here's the reason why. It humbled them. Everyone nationwide was calling Green Bay one of the best teams in the world, a Super Bowl contender, a team that was most likely going to be there, most likely going to represent the NFC. That was even with all of the drama that was happening. Then you come out, you lay the egg the way you did, and it's like, all right, hold on. Let's take a step back. Maybe we aren't the best. Maybe we do have to try more. Maybe we do have to prepare more. Maybe we do have to be on our toes more. And I think that's the reason why you're not going to see a trap game on Sunday, because they're going to look back to week 1 and say, hey, week 1, we weren't ready. It's any given Sunday. Any one of these 31 other teams can come in here and boat race us like they did in Jacksonville against New Orleans. That's why I don't think you're going to see this trap game. That's why I don't think you're going to see an unprepared Packers team, because there's no way they want to go back to how they felt after week 1.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, and I think that's probably it was definitely a great thing, looking back at it. But every game from here on out, I don't want to say it's a must win, but the NFC playoffs are going to be tough. Dallas is 5-1, Tampa Bay is 5-1. Obviously, Arizona's undefeated. The Green Bay Packers are 5-1. The NFC is tough, and then you look at, you're probably going to have another playoff team in the NFC West. Maybe not. We at first, like the first couple of weeks, I thought that division.
Well, you're forgetting the Rams. Rams are 5-1 as well.
The Rams, yes. I'm talking. I meant the third. You'll have a third playoff team. So yeah, and you got the Rams, and then the Niners and Seahawks are kind of a toss up because the Russell Wilson injury obviously is going to hinder them from probably getting into the playoffs. But it's important to win. It really is. And winning in October, it translates to playoff seeding in January. It definitely plays off. And when you're going up against Arizona on Thursday, it's going to be a tough game. But Washington is a game where you should not lose. Like there's nobody on that roster. No offense to Washington, nobody on that roster that can beat you. There's not. In
terms of a playmaker, no. Chase Young is just one man, and he's not. You've never seen a defensive end carry a team. Otherwise, J.J. Watt would have probably 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
you're 100% right there.
Yeah, you're not going to go into a matchup where you have to outscore Chase Young. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's where where it becomes a conversation of where there's just no reason, there's no way how Arizona outscores the Green Bay Packers, especially, we talk a lot about Chicago. We made fun of them. We laughed at them. It's a pretty good defense, and they scored 24 points on the road, which was weird when they were wearing the home greens. And that's the other thing. Why would Chicago do that against the Packers? Why would you?
Yeah, it's not like it was an 85-degree Chicago day. I mean, it was
not
like
only that, but
degrees.
Aaron Rodgers is wearing his home jersy.
And he's playing
in Soldier
home.
Field.
Yeah,
you set yourself up for that one. I mean, you did. I anticipate a Packers victory. And the remarkable thing about this too, Rhino, is that 4 of their 6 games have been on the road to start the season, and they've won 3 of them. That's impressive.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to just very quickly cover too, because I wanted to touch on the point that you were just making. You don't want to call this a must-win game, but these games are still very significant, and here's the reason why. If you go into Arizona next Thursday and beat them, you are now tied for the number 1 seed. Another chance at getting an NFC Championship game at home. Now, obviously, it's only going to be week 8 by that point, so there's a long ways to go. But if you look at the games that the Packers have coming up, they have a very winnable game at home against Washington. Then they go to Arizona Thursday night. They go to Kansas City the week after. They have a much easier game now at home against the Seahawks, but then they go to Minnesota, and then they have Los Angeles at home. I mean, there's a potential for 2 losses in that little stretch alone. So that's another reason why I don't think Green Bay is looking past Washington, because all of these games are very significant, especially with this little bit of a gauntlet stretch that we were talking about weeks ago. Now, a lot of these games are looking easier than what we thought. This Washington game looks a lot easier. That Chief game looks a lot easier. I think that Chiefs game is a winnable game. The Seahawks game is much easier, but then you go to Minnesota. That's always tough. I don't care what the records are. Playing in Minnesota is extremely tough to do. That's probably their most heated division rival right now, because the Bears aren't a rival at all anymore. I mean, that's just a laughable rivalry. But then Los Angeles at home to finish up November. These are all extremely important games. So I don't think there's going to be any lapse in focus, any lapse in effort when it comes to who they're playing Sunday. I think they're going to come out and they're going to put foot to gas.
Yeah, and I think they have to. To be quite honest with you, they got to go out. You sent a message. Here's the thing, real quick too. What Aaron Rodgers did, and I loved it. Yeah, absolutely Loved what he did in Chicago, but now there's a target on your back. Everybody's going to be watching everything you do now from here on out. You just went into Soldier Field and told them you owned them, and you do.
Yep.
But now you can't have a letdown against the Washington football team, who are the worst defense in all of football and don't really have anybody on offense that can beat you.
That would be a very big embarrassment.
So it's about, sticking with it. You're probably going to see a high dose, I hope, of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, because how those two go is really how this game's going to go. And you're going to see it on the first couple of drives. The offensive line's got to set the tempo. But it should be a game. You're right. What you said, it should be a boat race. You should blow them out. Like, you're superior. Taylor Heineke is not coming into Lambeau Field and beating Aaron Rodgers. I think Washington's what? Are they 1-5? They got one win. I know that. I think they're 1-5.
I believe it is 1-5. Yeah.
So any given Sunday, it happens. We see it all the time. Look, they were going into halftime.
2-4.
2-4. Okay. Yep. They were going into halftime up on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's something weird going on with that team, but it's not possible. It's not impossible that the Washington football team provides some challenges for this Packers, but in the end, it should be a game where they should have no issues in victory formation.
They've given up 29 points in 5 of their 6 games. The only game they did not give up 29 points was the season opener against the Chargers, which they still lost 20-16. They gave up 29 to the Giants, 43 to the Bills, 30 to the Falcons, 33 to the Saints, and then 31 to the Chiefs. And now that Chiefs game was a bit of an anomaly. I mean, that was a very slow start for them. That was very un-Andy Reid-like in the first half there. And then Patrick Mahomes just let loose in the second half. He ended up with, I believe it was 397 yards passing in that game. And that's what quarterbacks have been doing to Washington all season long, is just tearing them to shreds. Let's do a little bold prediction here. We'll give a bold prediction for each side of the ball in this game. And I'll go first. I think your boy is going to own yet another franchise on Sunday. My bold prediction for him is going to be 5 touchdown passes.
Goodness. Aaron Rodgers with 5 touchdown passes?
Which, isn't it kind of weird to think, like, that's not too bold for Rodgers, but he's been a little bit quieter statistically this year. He's still having a very efficient year, but he has been a little quiet statistically. But yeah, I see 5 touchdown passes for him on Sunday.
This is a good one. This is a good question, because I could see, I don't know if that's, no offense, but I don't know if that's bold, because I think that should happen. That's not an impossibility, I got one I think I'll go with, and I think I'm going to be wrong on it, but I'll go with it because it has an Aaron Jones game written all over it. But I'll say AJ Dillon outruns Aaron Jones for yardage on Sunday.
That's not a bad one. Actually, the one that I had in the holster behind Aaron Rodgers throwing 5 touchdowns was, I think you'll see 100 yards out of both Dillon and Jones on the ground.
And if I had MVS playing, that would be my, I would say it's his game. But obviously, he'll be ready, hopefully, for Thursday.
My bold prediction on the defensive side of the ball is Rashod Gary is going to have 3 sacks, and he's going to outperform Chase Young. I think this is the game that we finally see Rashod Gary impact the stat sheet and not just the flow of the game. 3 sacks for him on Sunday. That one also is mildly bold, because he's on the verge of having a massive game. I mean, he's literally one or 2 steps away from having a 2-3 sack game.
Well, he was second in the team in pressures, according to PFF in Chicago, right behind Kenny Clark with 5. So yeah, you're not wrong. He has the opportunity to cause some havoc. That's for sure. That dude is just a freak in nature. I'll pick a fan favorite just because it's a little fun. If he plays, and I think he's going to, he practiced today, which is usually a good indication, especially on Wednesday, if they practice, whether it's limited or not. Kevin King will have an interception on Sunday.
I knew you're going to go with it.
I knew
you're going to do it.
I'm going to go with Kevin King. I like Kevin King. I know. In 2019, the dude had 6 interceptions.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us here at the Titletown.
I know something's off with Kevin King. He's lost a few steps. The NFC Championship game, I get it. You know, week 1 as well. Like, I understand it. But he played really good against Cincinnati. That he did. He did play decent against Cincinnati. He graded pretty high.
He didn't. Yeah,
it
was the highest graded game he had since, I believe, what was it, December of 2019?
Exactly. So he was better. So if he's healthy and if he plays, I think he'll get one on Sunday.
My bold prediction for the special teams side of the ball is you are going to see a block punt. That one is outrageously bold, just because we know how bad the special teams are. For
Not
the Packers
really
on
though.
both sides.
If they've been close.
Yeah, they have been close.
If you remember, I think it was in the third quarter. They almost got to one in Chicago. Yeah. They almost, because even Greg Olson, who was calling the game, he said that it was, they were lucky to get it off. So I'm gonna go really bold here, like really bold for the special teams.
I can already guess what this one's gonna be.
What is it?
You're gonna say a Kylan Hill kick return.
No, I'm going bolder. I'm going bolder than that, dude.
All right.
They tackle the returner before the 25. There is nothing that fears me more than the Packers, and I love Maurice Drayton. He says the right things. He seems to have the right, words, and hopefully that translates to production.
He lives in my dad's building.
Dude, he's that special teams unit stresses me out. It feels like, first off, I forgot who it was, Jakeem Grant for the Bears. They were surrounding him, and he still got a 12-yard return because they thought Keith Fair caught it. Like, they just drive me nuts, dude. Like, that's one of the most stressful units in all of sports that I root for. That just
you want to know what about their special teams too? And this may actually be low key the offseason acquisition of the year for the Packers. How about Bajorquez?
Number 2 rated punter.
Dude had an 82-yard punt on Sunday. Honestly, if it weren't for him, I mean, our special teams could be a complete disaster right now if it weren't for him. Yeah, that dude's got a cannon on him.
Yeah, he flipped the field position on that one punt. Yeah, he's been great. Again, man, I said it, you said it, a handful of Packers fans said it. Brian Gutekunst knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
man.
He does.
Look at the offensive line, dude. Any team in the NFL, if you lose 3, at one point they lost 3 starting offensive linemen, Josh Myers, Elton Jenkins, and David Bakhtiari, and they didn't skip a beat. At all. Nyman's
they've all been playing
in
like veterans. Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He has his moments. He has his hiccups. Same thing with local Milwaukee radio people. They know who they are. You laughed. They literally laughed and made fun of Gutekunst for drafting A.J. Dillon. Now look at what's funny about A.J. Dillon? He's the fourth rated running back per PFF in all of football.
Hold on a second. You're the same guy that just said half an hour ago, depending on how much stock you put into PFF.
Yeah, some people don't like it. I like it. Some people don't.
Right,
that's why I said, depending on how much stock you put into it. I like PFF. I buy it. I pay for it so I can use it. Some people hate it. But it's easy for me to comprehend and read and understand. I like it.
You want to know what's going to drive some people nuts? This next statement. Brian Gutekunst is head and shoulders a better GM than Bill Belichick is.
Yeah, he doesn't get the. You're not wrong, dude. He don't get the criticism.
He is head and shoulders. I mean, everyone wants to talk about how great Bill Belichick is. He is a very mediocre GM.
Yeah, he does not draft. His draft picks are absolutely hits or absolutely misses.
Yeah, and they're not going out and making the flashy offseason moves.
We didn't even talk about today's move.
Oh, yeah, the
Whitney
defensive
Merciless
end he was a first round pick years back,
2012. Yeah.
So we'll see what kind of impact he's going to make. I mean, I'm
at
very
the very least it gives you depth. At the very least it gives you depth.
It gives you depth, especially at a position you're dealing with injuries at. So
57 sacks in 134 games. That's not terrible. It's almost a half a sack a game. It's not awful. He was
also playing on the opposite side of J.J. Watt too, though.
Well, that and Houston's team in general was was terrible. He was with Watt at Watt's, prime. He got there right at the beginning, but he was, the last few years there, Watt was not what Watt used to be.
We're going to move on to our prediction segment before we wrap things up here in the Titletown Lounge. We're going to get both Brandon and I's prediction for the game. This one might be a little bit bold too, but I'm going to do it. I think it's going to be a 42-14 kind of game. I'm going with that big of a spread, 42-14.
Everything into that blowout victory, don't you?
This is the game, because just like Green Bay has that one shit game, they have that one blowout game too, where they just beat the brakes off their opponent.
That's fair.
They had it a couple years ago in Matt LaFleur's first year. They had that game against Oakland, where Rodgers had his first perfect passer rating game. They had a couple blowouts last year, but I don't, the Lions game you could really point your finger at as just a massive blowout. But they do have that one game where they go all gas, no brakes. And I think this is the one.
Yeah, and the forecast for Sunday, it's 53 degrees and cloudy. I mean, weather
it's going to be a perfect. Yeah, it's going to be a perfect.
Weather won't be an issue, so there won't be wind or rain or snow that affects it a little bit. I don't think you're crazy, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I'm going to go. I could see a defensive touchdown this game too. A scoop and score. I could see. Something along those lines. I'm going to go 34-23.
34-23, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. The thing that pisses me off, this is the only home noon game the whole year.
I'm surprised. To be honest with you, the 3 straight noon games have completely thrown me off. I love it.
Yeah.
Football is meant to be played at noon. I do not want to wait till Sunday night or Monday night or 3:25 on Sunday. I want to play right when the pregame shows all end on the NFL Network and ESPN and Fox. I want to watch my team play. Every game should be at noon.
What's up with, dude? I feel bad for Tampa fans. They've had 2 Thursday night games so far this season.
Yeah, and they probably
that would suck.
And they play at 3:25 against the Bears this week. Yeah, we were like that when we opened the season. Not Thursday, but we had the 3:25. Then we had Sunday night football. Then we had Monday night football.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then we had 3:25 again when we went and played the Steelers. So, we've kind of been all over the place too. The 3 straight noon games have been glorious because I don't know about you or anybody that listens to the podcast. I don't enjoy myself prior to the Packer game. So if the Packers play at 3:25, I don't enjoy my day until that game is over. If they don't play till 7:20, I don't, at Sunday Night Football, I don't enjoy my day until either that game has concluded and they have won, or if they lost, and I just don't enjoy that whole day. And it just
the only reason why you enjoyed yourself before the Steelers game is because we got to meet the gunslinger.
That's fair.
Other than that, you were negative Nancy for quite a bit of the morning.
I had a feeling they would win that game.
Yeah, you didn't sound like it.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Ask my dad when he watches it with me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
I was going to say that is going to wrap things up for the Titletown Lounge. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back next Wednesday with hopefully yet another Victory Wednesday show for you. Catch us live next Wednesday, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Make sure you watch the socials for the show to drop later on this evening. I am your host, Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. Of course, this handsome gentleman, Brandon, at Brandon_Snide. The show itself at Titletown Lounge. You can check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Go, Pack, go.
Go, Pack, go.
There's Bledsoe. Down he goes. And there's Reggie White. And that's that hump.
Low to the shotgun. 3 receivers left, 2 to the right. Snap to Rodgers. Scrambles to his left, under pressure, rolling right, escapes. Right side looking. Rainbows high and deep, into the end zone, and it is caught. Caught for a touchdown. A leaping touchdown catch is made, and the Packers have won.
He is slick in the pocket, and then once he looked across the field, oh my gosh, that's from the 35. That's 60. That's close to 70 yards, but it's how high it went is what's so impressive.
Rodgers to Rodgers. 2 guys from Cal connect.
You talk about a season-saving game.